Alrighty, so Freyja is coming out tomorrow. And she's kind of an interesting character. I think a lot of people are probably going to simp because she is got a lot of personality, you know what I mean? So she's pretty interesting. She's actually got really good stats. They don't have them on Grand Cross database yet, but from what I've seen gameplay-wise, she actually has really good CC and just really good stats in general. She's not like, her passive and everything isn't going to be godlike festival tier like, Escanor and Melly might be, which Melly's on like a whole different level compared to Escanor even. But she's a very interesting character. I think it's going to bring Ragnarok team maybe back into the meta a little bit. It might be just shy of being like really good in the meta. We might have to wait for like somebody to get a relic or something like that for it to really take off a little bit more. But overall, I think that she's a really interesting character. I've watched a lot of gameplay of her so far because she came out on JP, of course, and she's pretty good so far. I mean, she has a flood card. I watched a couple of Marilli's videos, and he was saying that he's pretty unimpressed with the flood card in ungeared. And from the general consensus of the videos that I've watched, it does kind of seem like the flood card doesn't nearly do as much in ungeared PvP. It does really good in geared and in PvE activities, stuff where you actually get to use gear on her, but overall, I think that the Pierce card, the AoE Pierce card, is probably going to be what people kind of want to use her with, because just being able to use her with the full Ragnarok team, where you use Wedding Brunhild to sort of use her weak point AoE on top of the Pierce card, and maybe even if you're running like Sigurd to extort first, you could do a lot of damage turn one. You could potentially, like, I don't want to say wipe the enemy team, because from the looks of it, from what I've seen with like the bigger YouTubers being a little bit more whaley, it seems like they get really close to wiping, but it's very few and far between that I actually see them kill all three units on the field like right then and there, unless it's just some team that isn't really as well put together as maybe the current meta stuff is. So I don't know, maybe take the full wipe potential with a little bit of a grain of salt, because I don't know, I plan on using her, and I'm not gonna like I'm not planning on like maxing her ult out or anything like that. I'm just going to do one rotation. Obviously, I don't even really like to use ults to begin with, but I don't know. We'll see how she goes without being super like whale heavy. I don't know, just like a regular sort of gameplay video on her. She does pretty interesting though. So her passive is for every Ragnarok ally on the battlefield increases the hero's attack-related stats by 7%. So the more Ragnarok heroes you have, the better. For every debuff on the enemy, increases all allies' pierce rate by 4% up to 5 times, which is pretty interesting. I feel like every time a new pierce rate character comes out, everybody's like, oh my god, pierce rate. Like, pierce rate's crazy. And I think a big reason for that is like way back in the day when Blue Demon Meliodas came out, the Pierce team was like off the charts crazy, like crazy good white potential and everything like that. But I think characters have enough sort of resistance and just like defenses today, and like they have like crazy health pools that Pierce cards do good, but they're not like insane like people think they're gonna be, I don't think. But I guess it just depends on the team that you run, more than likely. So the Pierce card seems like it's pretty good. The Flood card can be pretty good. Her ultimate is very interesting. She has really high damage multipliers, but she also has a really bad negative to it, to where she has Wave, which was the effect that they ended up putting on 11 from the Stranger Things collab. And it is minus 20% damage for every enemy on the battlefield. So if you're using your ult while there's 3 enemies on the field, that's a minus 60% damage, which is very odd. But on top of it, it does have Abyss. So you put the Abyss effect on the field, and it'll do a little bit of extra damage whenever the turn ticks over and it hits their turn. So it's like a weird double-edged sword where it has high damage multiplier, so it seems like it's going to hit really crazy, but depending on how many enemies on the field, it's going to nerf it some, but then when it swaps to their side of the field, they're going to get hit by the abyss. It's just a really weird combination of things going on here with the ultimate. It does seem like it does really well, even with the wave on it, so I guess that's good, but still very bizarre that they wanted to do it like that. The actual banner itself, though, let's talk about what's on the banner and whether or not you should summon for the actual, like, the rest of the characters in her. I think that she has decent potential. I think this is going to be one of those characters where they've been pretty generous with Ragnarok units. Freyja, for example, came out. He was really crazy. Everybody wanted to get him because he had a death ultimate that was super good. The regular, like the one Escanor, was the only character at the time who had a death ultimate, so it was something that was pretty good. Like this, I think that Freyja is like the free to play, and I say that loosely because it's not like you're getting him for free, but he's on a lot of banners and you can sort of level him up over time because he's in so many banners, and then you can potentially get a 6/6 death ultimate that's going to deal double damage without having to worry about it being a festival unit that's kind of more exclusive, you know what I mean? So I think that Freyja in this sense is going to be like Rimuru, where Rimuru is a really big character that came out, collab unit, so extremely exclusive, and it's hard to get that character, and you can't get it during normal gameplay. You have to wait for the collab to come back around. But she has an Abyss ultimate, and Abyss is really good for certain scenarios where there's certain times where final bosses, you can fast farm it with an Abyss effect. I don't know, because of the wave effect, if it's going to be as good, but she has potential to be a character that gets put on a lot of different banners. You might be able to 6/6 her, like, relatively easier than it would be to get, some of the other characters, because the only other Abyss effect characters are regular Cusack's Ultimate, which is a Power Strike single target card, but you have to have it at 3/6 or higher to get the Abyss effect on it, or old school OG Small Wings King, who is not very good. So besides those two, you'd have to have Rimuru, and I think that she's going to be a more free-to-play friendly option where you could potentially pull her in a lot more banners because they're just a lot more giving with Ragnarok content, I feel like. So I think if you don't summon for her now, I'm not going to say it for certainty because obviously anything could happen. They could be a little bit stingy with the character, who knows, but if any of these older characters are anything to say about it, I would be willing to bet she's going to be on future banners relatively frequently. So if you want to skip her for now, you could. Obviously, she's not going to be guaranteed when you get to the 600 mark, and it's not going to be. It could be one of those situations where you're chasing an unfeatured character, which is never a good idea. That's awful, which is why I always try to get at least a 1/6 character whenever they're around. But I know that free-to-plays and everything don't have that luxury, so if you think you can get away with skipping it, because if you're running the demon team and you've got them invested into, odds are you're going to be all right in the meta for the foreseeable future right now. I don't think that you're really going to need her. She's pretty good for certain content. I've seen her do really well in some of the older demonic beasts. I don't think that she does very much in the newest one, but I don't really think I've seen anybody actually use her for it, like, full out yet. So I don't know, maybe. But either way, she's kind of just like an all contents kind of character. You can use her in PvE, you can use her in PvP, but I don't think she's excelling like top tier or anything like that for either of those contents. Like, she's good in both, but she's not necessary. You know what I mean? So I don't know. If you want any of these other characters and you want her, I think there's some decent value for this banner, but all of these other characters besides her have been in multiple banners, here and there throughout the last year or so. So I mean, more than likely you've pulled a copy or two of them if you've been playing the game for a while, but it just depends on what you have and how long you've been playing and your luck and everything. So there's a couple of factors that go into it. I think that she's interesting. I think that she's got a lot of potential, and yeah, I don't know. I would say coming out of two big festival banners, you might not have the gems for it. You might have spent more gems in the costume sale. I don't think that she's necessarily a must-summon character at the moment, but I don't know. Maybe I'll get my hands on her and I'll be super impressed. But from what I've seen, it doesn't seem like she's over the top insane. So I don't know. Let me know what you think. If you play on JP or anything like that, definitely know, or let me know what your thoughts and opinions of the character are if you've actually been messing with her and like got your hands on her and you're using her, because I think that that's very valuable. But other than that, that's pretty much it. So thank you guys so much for watching. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. Feel free to subscribe if you haven't already. I'll see you in the next one.